Daniel Brooks stood in the rain-soaked parking lot, phone buzzing with a message from a woman he barely knew. A billionaire CEO trapped at a disastrous blind date, begging a low-level employee to rescue her. One choice? Ignore it and stay safe, or walk into a world that could destroy everything he'd built for his daughter. He chose wrong. Or maybe he chose right. Either way, nothing would ever be the same. If you're watching from somewhere in the world right now, hit that like button and drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this story travels. Let's begin. The text came in at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Daniel Brooks was halfway through helping his daughter Mia with her math homework when his phone lit up on the kitchen table. He glanced at it, expecting a work email or a reminder about trash day. Instead, he saw a number he didn't recognize and a message that made no sense. Please, I need help. Table 12, Marchand's. Anyone but him. He stared at the screen. Wrong number, obviously. He set the phone down and turned back to Mia, who was chewing on her pencil eraser and frowning at a word problem about trains leaving stations. Dad, if train A leaves at 3 o'clock and train B leaves at 4:30, why don't they just check the schedule instead of doing math? Because then you wouldn't learn anything, Daniel said, ruffling her hair. She swatted his hand away, grinning. The phone buzzed again. I know this is strange. I'm Isabella Laurent. We work at the same company. I saw your name on the employee directory. I'm desperate. Daniel picked up the phone, reading more carefully now. Isabella Laurent. The name was familiar in the way a celebrity's name is familiar. You've heard it, you know it's important, but you've never actually met the person. She was somewhere high up in the corporate tower he worked in, so far above his pay grade that their paths would never cross. He was in IT support. She was, well, he wasn't entirely sure what she was, except rich and untouchable. Another message arrived before he could process the first two. My family set me up on a blind date. He won't stop talking about his stock portfolio and his summer home. I've been here 2 hours, please. Fake emergency. Anything. Mia looked up at him. Who's texting you? Someone from work, Daniel said slowly. I think. During homework time? Mia raised an eyebrow, a gesture she'd picked up from him and now wielded with devastating accuracy. It's complicated. He typed a response, fingers hesitant. Why me? The reply was instant. You were the first normal-sounding name I found. Everyone else in the directory sounds like they'd ask for my father's approval first. You're in IT. You fix problems. This is a problem. Please. Daniel exhaled, rubbing his face. This was insane. He didn't know this woman. He had a daughter to take care of, a quiet life that ran on routine and predictability. Getting involved in whatever this was, rescuing a billionaire from a bad date, was the kind of thing that led to complications. And complications led to instability. And instability was the one thing he couldn't afford. But something about the message got to him. The raw honesty in it. The fact that she'd scrolled through an employee directory, probably past hundreds of names, looking for someone who wouldn't make things worse. Where's Marchand's? Downtown. 15 minutes if you drive fast. I'll owe you. Seriously. He looked at Mia, who was watching him with open curiosity now. I need to go out for a little bit. Now? We're not done with homework. I know, I'll be fast. Can you finish the next two problems on your own? She sighed dramatically. I guess, but you're making me a snack when you get back. Deal. He grabbed his jacket and keys, still half convinced he was making a terrible mistake. Marchand's was the kind of restaurant Daniel had never set foot in and never planned to. Soft lighting, cloth napkins, a wine list thicker than Mia's math textbook. He stood outside the glass doors for a moment, suddenly aware of his worn jeans and the faded hoodie under his jacket. Then he pushed the door open and walked in anyway. The hostess looked at him like he'd wandered in from the wrong century. Do you have a reservation? I'm here to pick someone up. Isabella Laurent? The hostess's expression shifted immediately. Not warmer, exactly, but more careful. Of course. Right this way. She led him through the dining room, past tables full of people who looked like they belonged in magazine spreads. Daniel felt every eye on him, cataloging his appearance, dismissing him. He kept his gaze forward, and then he saw her. Isabella Laurent sat at a corner table, her posture perfect, her expression politely frozen. Across from her sat a man in a suit that probably cost more than Daniel's car, gesturing expansively as he spoke. She wasn't looking at him. She was looking at Daniel. Their eyes met, and something in her face shifted. Relief, desperation, hope. Daniel walked straight to the table. "Isabella," he said, keeping his voice urgent but not loud. "We need to go, now." The man in the suit stopped mid-sentence. "Excuse me?" "Family emergency," Daniel said, not looking at him. He focused on Isabella, who was already standing, grabbing her purse. "What kind of emergency?" the man demanded. "The kind that's none of your business," Isabella said, her voice cool and final. She stepped around the table, moving toward Daniel without hesitation. "You can't just leave in the middle of—" "Watch me," she said, and walked out. Daniel followed her through the restaurant, aware of the stares, the whispers. The hostess tried to say something as they passed, but Isabella didn't slow down. She pushed through the doors and into the cool night air, and only then did she stop, turning to face him. "Thank you," she said, and her voice cracked just slightly. "I know that was weird. I'm sorry." "It's fine," Daniel said, though he wasn't sure it was. They stood there for a moment, two strangers in a restaurant parking lot, neither quite sure what to do next. "I'm Isabella," she said, extending a hand. "Daniel." He shook it. Her grip was firm, warmer than he expected. "I really do owe you," she said. "That was the third date my mother set up this month. She's convinced I'm going to die alone if I don't marry someone from the approved list." "Approved list? Rich, connected, boring as hell." She smiled, and it was the first real expression he'd seen on her face. "You're not on it." "I'm definitely not on it," Daniel agreed. She laughed, a short, surprise sound. "Can I buy you coffee? I mean, I know you probably need to get back to whatever I pulled you away from, but it's the least I can do." Daniel checked his phone. 5 messages from Mia, all variations of "Dad, where are you?" He should go home. This was already more interaction than he'd planned for the evening. "Coffee sounds good," he heard himself say. They ended up at a diner 2 blocks away, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and a laminated menu that hadn't changed since the 90s. Isabella looked completely out of place, sitting across from him in a dress that probably cost more than his rent, but she didn't seem to notice or care. "So," she said, wrapping her hands around a coffee mug. "You work in IT." "I fix computers when they break," Daniel said. "Sometimes I tell people to turn things off and on again. Revolutionary." "It works more often than you'd think," she smiled. "And you just dropped everything to rescue a stranger. You didn't seem like you had a lot of options." "I didn't," she admitted. "I thought about faking a heart attack, but that seemed extreme." "Probably would have worked, though." "True." She took a sip of coffee, studying him. "You have a kid." It wasn't a question. Daniel stiffened slightly. "How did you— You said family emergency without hesitating, and you keep checking your phone like someone's waiting for you." He relaxed, just a fraction. "Her name's Mia. She's 8. And her mom? Not in the picture." He said it flatly, the way he always did, discouraging follow-up questions. Isabella nodded, not pushing. "That must be hard." "We manage." They sat in silence for a moment. It wasn't uncomfortable, which surprised him. Usually when people found out he was a single dad, they either pitied him or asked intrusive questions. Isabella just drank her coffee and looked out the window. "What about you?" Daniel asked. "Billionaire CEO probably comes with its own set of problems." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You have no idea. Try me." She hesitated, then shrugged. "Everyone wants something, a business deal, an introduction, a favor for their nephew who's very talented and just needs a chance. And my family, they have this vision of who I'm supposed to be, who I'm supposed to marry, what my life is supposed to look like. Tonight was just another attempt to fit me into that box." "Sounds exhausting." "It is." She looked at him directly, and he was struck by how tired she looked under the polished exterior. "You know what the worst part is? I go along with it. I sit through those dinners, I smile, I pretend to be interested, because it's easier than fighting. Until tonight." "Until tonight," she agreed. "I don't know what came over me. I just couldn't do it anymore. And then I saw your name in the directory and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? I could have ignored you." "But you didn't." Daniel's phone buzzed. Another message from Mia. If you're not home in 10 minutes, I'm eating all the ice cream. He showed Isabella the message. She grinned. You'd probably go. Probably. Neither of them moved. Can I ask you something? Isabella said. Sure. Why did you say yes? You don't know me. You have a daughter waiting at home. This could have been anything, a scam, a trap, who knows? Daniel thought about it, trying to put it into words. I guess I know what it's like to feel stuck. And if I could help, even if it was just for one night, it seemed worth it. She looked at him for a long moment, something shifting in her expression. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? I don't know, but not this. He stood, leaving cash on the table for his coffee. I really do need to go. Of course. She stood too. Thank you again. For tonight. I mean it. Any time, he said, and was startled to realize he meant it. Daniel thought that would be the end of it. One strange night, one good deed, back to normal life. He was wrong. The second text came 3 weeks later, on a Friday evening. He was at the grocery store with Mia, debating the merits of whole wheat versus white bread, when his phone buzzed. It's happening again, table 8 Vanguard room. I know I have no right to ask, but he stared at the message while Mia loaded a box of sugary cereal into the cart. Dad, can we get this? No. Please? Mia, she sighed, putting it back. You're no fun. He typed a response. Same situation? Worse. He's a corporate lawyer. Hasn't stopped talking about billable hours. Give me 20 minutes. Mia looked up at him. We're not done shopping. Change of plans. Quick trip tonight. We'll come back tomorrow. What kind of change of plans? The complicated kind. She rolled her eyes, a gesture she was perfecting. Fine, but you owe me pizza. Deal. The Vanguard room was even fancier than Marchand's, if that was possible. Daniel walked in wearing the same jeans and hoodie as last time, and the maitre d' looked physically pained. I'm here for Isabella Laurent. The maitre d's expression cleared immediately. Of course. This way. Daniel followed him to a private dining area where Isabella sat across from a man in wire-rimmed glasses who was, indeed, talking about billable hours. Her face lit up when she saw Daniel. Oh no, she said, standing abruptly. Is everything okay? We need to leave, Daniel said. Now. What happened? I'll explain in the car. The lawyer stood. Excuse me, we're in the middle of... Emergency, Isabella said, already moving. I'm so sorry. They were out the door in under a minute. In the parking lot, Isabella started laughing. It was a real laugh this time, bright and uncontrolled. I can't believe you came. You texted. I didn't think you actually would. Here I am. She smiled at him, and something in his chest tightened. Coffee? Can't tonight. I've got Mia in the car. Isabella's expression shifted. Surprise, then curiosity. She's here? Grocery store run turned rescue mission. Can I meet her? Daniel hesitated. He didn't introduce Mia to people. It was a rule, one of many designed to keep their life stable and simple. But something about the way Isabella asked, genuine, a little nervous, made him reconsider. Quick introduction, he said, but we really do need to get home. Mia was sitting in the back seat playing a game on Daniel's old tablet when they walked up. She looked up, saw Isabella, and her eyes went wide. Whoa, you're really dressed up. Isabella laughed. I was at a fancy dinner. Was it good? The food was. The company was terrible. Mia grinned. Is that why my dad had to rescue you? Exactly. He does that sometimes, rescues people. Mia said it matter-of-factly, like it was a known characteristic. Daniel felt his face heat. We should go. It was nice to meet you, Mia, Isabella said. You too. You're prettier in person than on TV. You've seen me on TV? My dad looked you up after the first time you texted. I saw over his shoulder. Daniel wanted the ground to swallow him. Isabella's smile widened. Did he? Yep, he said you were his boss's boss's boss or something. Something like that. They said goodnight, and Daniel drove home with Mia peppering him with questions about who Isabella was and why she needed rescuing and whether she was going to text again. I don't know, Daniel said, though part of him suspected he did. She texted again 2 weeks later, then a week after that, then 3 days later. Each time, Daniel showed up. Each time, they ended up at a different late-night spot. Diners, coffee shops, once a 24-hour donut place that Mia would have loved. They talked about everything and nothing. Her impossible family expectations. His careful, structured life. The gap between who they were supposed to be and who they actually were.
"I don't understand your family," Daniel said one night, sitting in a parking lot at 2 in the morning, both of them nursing gas station coffee. "You're successful, you're smart, you're running a company. Why do they care who you date?" "Because it's not about me," Isabella said. "It's about legacy, connections, maintaining status. I'm a piece on their chessboard, and they need me in the right position." "That's bleak." "It's reality." She paused. "Or it was. I don't know anymore." "What changed?" She looked at him. "You keep showing up." Something in the way she said it made his pulse quicken. He looked away, uncomfortable with the intensity. "It's not a big deal." "It is to me." Her voice was quiet. "No one just shows up for me, Daniel. Not without wanting something in return." "I don't want anything." "I know, that's the point." They sat in silence, the kind that felt heavy with things unsaid. "This is a bad idea," Daniel said finally. "What is?"
This, whatever this is becoming. Isabella didn't argue. "I know. I have Mia to think about. I can't do complicated." "I know," she said again. But neither of them moved. Neither of them suggested stopping. The texts kept coming. The rescues became routine, almost a game. Daniel would show up, Isabella would make her escape, and they'd end up somewhere quiet, talking until the early hours. He started looking forward to them, started checking his phone more often, started thinking about her during the day, wondering what disaster date her family had planned next, what she'd say about it, how she'd laugh when he showed up. It was Mia who noticed first. "You smile at your phone now," she said one morning over breakfast. "What?" "Your phone. When it buzzes, you smile." "I do not." "You totally do." "Is it the fancy lady?" Daniel set his coffee down carefully. "Her name is Isabella." "Is she your girlfriend?" "No." "Do you want her to be?" "Mia. Because it's okay if you do." "I liked her. She didn't talk to me like I was a baby." Daniel didn't know what to say to that. He'd spent 8 years building a life around Mia, making sure she had everything she needed, keeping her safe from anything that might disrupt their stability. The idea of adding someone else to that equation, someone from a completely different world, it felt irresponsible. But he couldn't stop thinking about Isabella. The way she talked about her life like it was a prison she'd built herself. The way she looked at him like he was the first real thing she'd encountered in years. His phone buzzed. Mia grinned. "You're smiling. Eat your cereal." The message was simple. "Tonight, the Ashford. Table for 2, unfortunately." "Save me?" He typed back without hesitating. "What time?" The Ashford was a mistake. Daniel knew it the moment he walked in and saw the crowd. Not just wealthy, but powerful. Politicians, executives, people who could end careers with a phone call. And there, in the center of it all, was Isabella, sitting next to a man who looked like he'd stepped out of a corporate recruitment poster. She saw Daniel immediately. Her expression flickered. Relief, yes, but something else too. Worry. Daniel approached the table anyway. "Isabella." "Daniel." She stood quickly. "I didn't think you'd—" "We need to talk," he said, keeping his voice low. The man at the table stood as well. "Excuse me, we're in the middle of a business dinner." "This is important," Daniel said. "I'm sure it can wait." "It can't." Isabella grabbed her purse. "I'm sorry, Richard. Family matter." "Family matter?" Richard's tone sharpened. "You don't have family here." "I do now," Isabella said, and walked away with Daniel. They made it to the parking lot before she stopped, turning to face him. "That was reckless. You texted me." "I know, but Richard is on the board. He's one of my father's closest allies. If he tells my father I walked out, then what? What's the worst that happens?" She stared at him. "You don't understand. My family, the company, my entire life, it's all connected. I can't just walk away from obligations." "Then why do you keep texting me?" The question hung between them. "Because
Isabella said finally, her voice breaking slightly. When I'm with you, I remember what it feels like to be a person instead of a portfolio. Daniel's chest tightened. Isabella, I know this is complicated. I know it doesn't make sense, but I can't stop. I don't want to stop. He should walk away. He should get in his car, go home to Mia, go back to his safe, predictable life. Instead, he took a step closer. This is a really bad idea, he said. I know. I have a daughter. I have responsibilities. I can't risk. I know. And you have a whole world that I don't fit into, that I'll never fit into. Daniel, she grabbed his hand. I know all of it, but I don't care. He looked down at their joined hands, then back up at her face, at the hope and fear and determination there. One more coffee, he said, and then we figure out what this is. She smiled, fragile and real. Deal. They ended up at the same diner as the first night, sitting in the same booth. But everything felt different now. The air between them was charged, weighted with possibility and danger in equal measure. Tell me about Mia, Isabella said. So he did. He told her about the day Mia was born, how small she'd been, how terrified he'd felt, about her mother leaving when Mia was 6 months old, just disappearing one day with a note that said she wasn't ready, about building a life around his daughter, every decision filtered through one question. Is this good for Mia? Isabella listened without interrupting, and when he finished, she said, You're a good father. I try. No, I mean it. You're a good father. That's rare. They talked until the diner staff started giving them pointed looks. Then they stood in the parking lot, neither wanting to leave. I should go, Daniel said. I know. This can't keep happening. I know. But it would. They both knew it would. Isabella reached up, touching his face gently. Thank you. For tonight. For all the nights. Then she walked to her car and Daniel stood there watching her go, feeling like he'd just made a decision that would change everything. He drove home in silence, his mind racing. When he got to the apartment, Mia was asleep on the couch, the TV still playing. He picked her up carefully, carried her to bed, pulled the blankets over her small form. She stirred, eyes opening slightly. Did you save her again? Yeah, Bug, I saved her. Good, Mia mumbled, already falling back asleep. She needs you. Daniel stood in the doorway of his daughter's room, watching her sleep, and wondered what the hell he was doing. He'd spent 8 years building walls, keeping their life simple and safe. And now, because of a desperate text message and a woman who looked at him like he was more than just an IT guy who fixed computers, those walls were starting to crack. His phone buzzed one more time. I meant what I said. I don't want to stop. He stared at the message for a long time before typing back. Me neither. And just like that, simple became complicated. The next 3 weeks felt like living in 2 separate worlds that kept colliding at inconvenient moments. During the day, Daniel was exactly who he'd always been, fixing network issues, updating security patches, helping people recover files they'd accidentally deleted. He ate lunch at his desk, took the stairs instead of the elevator to avoid small talk, and left precisely at 5 to pick up Mia from after-school care. His life ran on schedules and routines. Everything predictable, everything safe. At night, though, his phone would buzz with a new rescue request, and he'd slip into this other existence where he sat across from a billionaire CEO in dimly lit diners and talked about things that felt too honest for strangers. Except they weren't strangers anymore. That was the problem. You're distracted, Mia said one evening, waving her hand in front of his face. They were doing homework again, fractions this time, and Daniel had been staring at the same problem for 5 minutes without seeing it. Sorry, Bug, what were you saying? I said, I don't get why we need to know this. When am I ever going to use fractions in real life? Cooking. If a recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup and you want to double it, I'll just use my phone calculator. He couldn't argue with that. Just do the problems, okay? She sighed dramatically but went back to her worksheet. Daniel's phone sat on the table between them, silent for now, but he kept glancing at it anyway. You're doing it again, Mia said without looking up. Doing what? Waiting for her to text. I'm not Dad, come on. He set his pen down. When did you get so observant? I've always been observant. You just never had anything interesting to observe before. She looked up at him, her expression too knowing for an 8-year-old. Do you like her? Daniel opened his mouth, then closed it. How was he supposed to answer that? Yes felt too simple. No would be a lie. It's complicated was accurate, but useless. She's become a friend, he said finally. Friends don't make you smile at your phone like that. Finish your homework. Mia grinned, victorious, and went back to her fractions. Daniel stared at his phone and tried to convince himself she was wrong. His phone buzzed at 10:47 p.m. after Mia was asleep. He was in bed pretending to read a book he'd started 3 weeks ago and hadn't gotten past chapter 2. The message was different this time. No restaurant name, no table number. Just, can we talk? Not a rescue, just talk. He stared at it for a long moment before replying. Where? There's a park near the waterfront. Chapman Park? I'll be at the East Bench in 20 minutes. Daniel sat up, his heart doing something complicated in his chest. This was new territory. The rescues had been one thing, helping her escape bad situations, grabbing coffee afterward. But meeting up just to meet up? That felt like crossing a line he hadn't been ready to acknowledge existed. He got dressed anyway. Chapman Park was empty at this hour, just streetlights casting long shadows across the walking paths. Daniel found Isabella sitting on a bench overlooking the water, still in her work clothes, but with her jacket draped over her shoulders like she'd been there a while. Hey, he said, approaching carefully. She looked up, and even in the dim light he could see the exhaustion on her face. Hey, thanks for coming. You okay? Not really. She shifted over, making room for him on the bench. He sat, leaving a careful distance between them. I had a meeting with my father today. About the company, about my future, about expectations. The usual. And he has someone new he wants me to meet. Another approved candidate. He's flying in from Tokyo next month, specifically to have dinner with me. Daniel felt something tighten in his stomach. Are you going to go? I don't know. She pulled her jacket tighter around her shoulders. 3 months ago, I would have said yes automatically. That's what I do. I say yes. I show up. I play the part. But now? She turned to look at him directly. Now I keep thinking about how I'd rather be sitting in a parking lot drinking bad coffee with you than at some 5-star restaurant with another stranger who sees me as a business opportunity. The honesty of it hit him square in the chest. He didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. I'm being unfair to you, Isabella continued, her voice quieter now, dragging you into this mess. You have your own life, your daughter. You don't need my family drama. Maybe I don't need it, Daniel said carefully, but that doesn't mean I want you to stop texting. She smiled, sad and small. Why not? It would be easier. Easier isn't always better. They sat in silence for a while, watching the water. A light breeze came off the harbor, carrying the smell of salt and distant rain. Can I ask you something? Isabella said. Sure. Why did you become a single parent? I know her mother left, but you could have... I don't know, there are options. Why did you choose this? Daniel had been asked this before, usually by people who couldn't understand why he'd given up his 20s to raise a kid alone. He'd developed a stock answer over the years. She's my daughter. It's my responsibility. Simple, clean, conversation over. But sitting here with Isabella, he found himself telling the truth instead. I was terrified, he said. When her mom left, I was 24 years old, working part-time at a computer repair shop, living in a studio apartment with water damage and a radiator that only worked half the time. I had no idea how to take care of a baby. I called my mom crying more times than I can count. But you figured it out. Not right away. I screwed up constantly. Fed her the wrong formula and she was up all night screaming. Forgot to change her diaper often enough and she got a rash. Took her to the emergency room twice for things that turned out to be completely normal. I was a disaster. You don't seem like a disaster now. That's because I learned. I had to. There was no one else. He paused, remembering those early days, the exhaustion, the fear, the crushing weight of being solely responsible for keeping another human alive. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about obligation and started being about love. She became my person, my reason for getting up in the morning, and I realized I didn't want to be anywhere else. Isabella was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was thick. That's beautiful. It's just the truth. No, I mean it. The idea that you chose her every single day, even when it was hard, that's love. She wiped at her eyes quickly. Sorry, I don't know why I'm getting emotional. It's okay. It's just, my parents never chose me like that. Everything was conditional. Good grades, right schools, appropriate friends, suitable career. Love is a reward for meeting expectations. Daniel felt anger flash through him, sudden and hot. That's not love. I know that now. Sitting here with you, I know that. But growing up, that was normal. That was just how things were. He wanted to reach for her hand, but didn't trust himself to. You deserved better. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just feeling sorry for myself. She straightened up, wiping her eyes again. Ignore me. I'm being dramatic. You're being honest. There's a difference. She looked at him, something shifting in her expression. You're really easy to talk to. You know that? So I've been told. I bet you have. She smiled, more genuine now. Does Mia know that you're here? She's asleep, and even if she wasn't, she's 8. She'd probably just tell me to be careful and not stay out too late. Isabella laughed. She sounds wise beyond her years. She has to be. It's just the two of us. Do you ever want more? A partner? Someone to share it with? The question caught him off guard. I used to think about it, early on when things were really hard, but dating as a single parent is complicated. Most people hear, I have a kid, and run. The ones who don't usually have expectations about what our life should look like that don't match reality. After a while, I stopped trying. That sounds lonely. Sometimes it is. He looked at her. What about you? Has there ever been anyone your family didn't pick? Once, in college. He was a music major, wanted to teach. My parents found out and threatened to cut me off financially if I didn't end it. So I did. Just like that? Just like that. I was 20 years old and terrified of losing everything. I chose security over love. She shook her head. I've regretted it ever since, not because I think he was the one or anything like that, but because I let them make that choice for me. And now? Now, I'm 30 years old and tired of letting other people run my life. She turned to face him fully. I know this is complicated. I know we're from completely different worlds, but I don't want to stop seeing you. Daniel's heart was pounding now. Isabella, let me finish. I don't know what this is or where it's going, maybe nowhere. Maybe it crashes and burns, but for the first time in years I feel like myself when I'm with you. And I don't want to give that up just because it doesn't fit into the plan someone else made for my life. He should say no. He should explain all the reasons this was a bad idea, the difference in their positions at work, the impossibility of their situations, the risk to the stable life he'd built for Mia. He should be the responsible one. I don't want to stop either, he said instead. The relief on her face was immediate and overwhelming. Really? Really, but we need to be smart about this. My daughter comes first, always. And your family, your work, we can't just ignore all of that. I know. We'll figure it out. Will we? We'll try. It wasn't a plan. It barely qualified as an agreement, but sitting there on a park bench in the middle of the night with a woman who looked at him like he was the answer to a question she'd been asking herself for years, it felt like enough. They talked until almost 2 a.m, about everything and nothing. She told him about her first business deal, how she'd thrown up in the bathroom beforehand from nerves. He told her about Mia's obsession with dinosaurs when she was 4, how she'd insisted on being called Dr. Maya and corrected everyone's pronunciation of pteranodon. They laughed, and it felt easy in a way nothing else in Daniel's life had felt in a long time. When they finally stood to leave, Isabella pulled him into a hug. It surprised him, the lack of hesitation, the warmth of it. He hugged her back carefully, aware of how different this felt from the polite distance they'd maintained until now. Thank you, she said against his shoulder, for listening, for staying. Any time. She pulled back, looking up at him. For a moment he thought she might kiss him, and he didn't know what he'd do if she tried, but she just smiled and stepped away. Text me when you get home safe, she said. You too. He watched her walk to her car, something expensive and foreign that probably cost more than he made in 3 years, and drive away. Then he sat in his own beat-up sedan for 10 minutes, trying to process what had just happened. His phone buzzed. Home safe, sweet dreams.
He smiled despite himself and drove home. The next day at work, Daniel kept his head down and tried to act normal. He fixed a printer jam on the third floor, reset someone's password, helped troubleshoot a video call issue. Normal tasks, normal day. Except he kept thinking about Isabella, about the way she'd looked at him in the park, the things she'd said, about how much harder it was getting to separate this new part of his life from the carefully structured routine he'd built. He was in the server room checking backup logs when Marcus from accounting appeared in the doorway. "Hey, Daniel, got a second?" "Sure. What's up?" Marcus stepped inside, closing the door behind him. That was unusual. Marcus was friendly but professional, not someone who sought out private conversations. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." Daniel felt a warning prickle at the base of his neck. "Okay. Are you seeing Isabella Laurent?" The question hit him like cold water. "What?" "I saw you two, last week, leaving a restaurant together, and again 3 nights ago, in the parking lot at Chapman Park." Marcus held up a hand before Daniel could respond. "I'm not trying to get in your business, but you need to know that there are people in this company who would love to have leverage over her. And if they find out she's involved with someone from IT, someone with no family connections, no status, they'll use it." Daniel's mouth went dry. It's not like that." "Isn't it?" Marcus's expression was sympathetic but firm. "Look, I get it. She's incredible, but she's also Isabella Laurent. Her family owns 40% of this company. There are rules about fraternization, about conflicts of interest. If this gets out before you two figure out what it is, it could destroy both of your careers. I'm aware of the complications." "Are you?" "Because from where I'm standing, you're a single dad with a good job and a stable life. Is she worth risking all of that?" The question lingered after Marcus left. Daniel stood in the server room, surrounded by blinking lights and the hum of cooling fans, and tried to answer it honestly. Was she worth it? He thought about Mia, about the life they'd built together, about the promises he'd made to himself when her mother left, that he'd always put his daughter first, that he'd never let anything destabilize what they had. But he also thought about Isabella, sitting on that bench, telling him she felt like herself when she was with him, about how she'd chosen to text him out of hundreds of employees, how she kept choosing him. His phone buzzed, a message from Isabella. "Lunch? I know a place off-site where no one from work goes." He stared at it for a long time before responding. "Can't today. Maybe this weekend?" "It's a date." Was it? He didn't know anymore. Didn't know what they were doing or where this was heading. All he knew was that walking away felt impossible, even though staying felt dangerous. That weekend, Daniel arranged for Mia to have a sleepover at her friend Sophie's house. It was the first time he'd made plans that didn't revolve around his daughter's schedule, and the guilt sat heavy in his stomach. "You're being weird," Mia said as he drove her to Sophie's. "I'm not being weird. You checked your phone like 6 times in the last 10 minutes. I'm expecting an important message." "From her?" Daniel sighed. "Yes, from her." "Good. You should see her more. You're less grumpy when you do." "I'm not grumpy." "Dad, you're super grumpy, especially in the mornings. But lately you've been happy grumpy instead of regular grumpy." He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Happy grumpy?" "Yeah, like you're trying to be grumpy out of habit, but you're actually in a good mood underneath." She swung her legs, hitting the back of his seat rhythmically. "It's nice. I like it." His chest felt tight. "You're okay with this? With me spending time with Isabella?" "Why wouldn't I be?" "Because it's different. Because things might change." Mia shrugged. "Things change anyway. Sophie's parents got divorced last year, and she said it was sad, but now she has 2 bedrooms and 2 birthday parties. Change isn't always bad." "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You just don't notice because you're busy being grumpy." He pulled up to Sophie's house, and Mia grabbed her overnight bag from the seat beside her. Before she got out, she leaned forward and kissed his cheek. "Have fun tonight, Dad. You deserve it." Then she was gone, running up to Sophie's front door, where Sophie's mom was already waving hello. Daniel sat in the car for a moment, feeling like his 8-year-old daughter had just given him permission he didn't know he needed. He met Isabella at a small Italian place an hour outside the city, far enough that they wouldn't run into anyone from work. She was already there when he arrived,
sitting at a corner table in jeans and a sweater instead of her usual designer business clothes. She looked younger like this, more relaxed. "You made it," she said, smiling. "Traffic was lighter than I expected." "Did you eat?" "I ordered calamari." "I'm starving, actually." They fell into easy conversation, the kind they'd developed over weeks of late-night talks. But there was something different tonight, a awareness between them that hadn't been there before. Or maybe it had been there all along, and they were finally acknowledging it. "Marcus talked to me," Daniel said halfway through dinner. "From accounting. He saw us together. He warned me that if people find out, it could be bad for both of us." Isabella's expression tightened. "He's right. The company has strict policies about relationships, especially between different levels of hierarchy. So what do we do?" "I don't know. Keep it quiet? Figure out what this is before we have to explain it to anyone else? And if we can't keep it quiet?" She reached across the table, taking his hand. The gesture was simple, but felt monumental. "Then we deal with it, together." "You make it sound easy." "It's not easy. Nothing about this is easy. But I'm tired of living my life according to other people's rules." She squeezed his hand. "Aren't you?" He was. He'd spent 8 years playing it safe, following the rules, building walls, and he was exhausted. "What do you want?" he asked. "From this. From us." Isabella was quiet for a moment, considering. "I want to keep seeing you. I want to have dinner like this without worrying about who might see us. I want to get to know Mia better, if you'll let me. And I want to figure out if this feeling I have when I'm with you is real or just me being desperate to escape my life. That's honest." "I'm trying to be." She smiled, a little uncertain. "What do you want?" Daniel thought about it, really thought about it. "I want to believe that this could work, that we're not just setting ourselves up for disaster. And I want—" He stopped, surprised by his own honesty. "I want to kiss you. I've wanted to kiss you for weeks." Her eyes widened slightly. "Then why haven't you?" "Because once I do, this becomes real. And real means complicated, and complicated means risk, and I don't know if I'm ready for that." "Are you ready now?" He looked at her, really looked at her, at the hope and fear and determination in her face, at the way she was still holding his hand across the table, like she was afraid he might pull away. "I think so," he said. She stood up, pulling him with her. They left cash on the table and walked out to the parking lot. It was dark now, the restaurant's neon sign casting colored shadows across the pavement. "Daniel," Isabella said, and the way she said his name made his heart skip. He kissed her. It was careful at first, tentative, both of them testing boundaries. Then she wrapped her arms around his neck and pulled him closer, and careful became something else entirely. Something that felt like falling and flying at the same time. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Isabella pressed her forehead against his. "That was—" "Yeah," he agreed. They stood there in the parking lot, holding each other, and Daniel felt the last of his carefully constructed walls crack and crumble. This was real now. Whatever happened next, they'd crossed a line they couldn't uncross. "Come back to my place," Isabella said quietly, "just to talk. I'm not ready for this night to end." He should say no. Should go home, check on Mia, maintain some sense of normalcy. But he heard himself say okay instead. Her apartment was nothing like he expected. Not cold and minimalist, but warm and lived in, full of books and comfortable furniture and artwork that actually meant something. She made coffee and they sat on her couch, close enough that their knees touched. "I need to tell you something," Isabella said. "About my family, about work. If we're really doing this, you need to know what you're getting into." "Okay." She took a breath. "My father is planning to retire in 2 years. When he does, he wants me to take over as CEO. It's been the plan since I was 16. Everything I've done, every choice I've made has been leading to that." "That sounds like a lot of pressure." "It is, but it's also my legacy, my responsibility. The thing is," she paused, looking down at her coffee cup, "if I take over, I'll be expected to marry someone appropriate, someone who can help expand the business, strengthen alliances, someone from the approved list." Daniel felt something cold settle in his stomach. "And I'm not on that list. You're not even in the same universe as that list." She looked at him, her eyes fierce. "But I don't care.
I don't want someone appropriate. I want you. Isabella, I know it's insane. We've known each other for less than 2 months, but I've never felt this with anyone else, this certainty, and I'm not giving it up just because it doesn't fit the plan. He wanted to believe her. Wanted to believe that wanting something badly enough could make it work.
What happens when your father finds out? I don't know. He'll be angry, disappointed. He might try to force my hand, make me choose between you and the company. And if he does? She set her coffee down, taking both his hands in hers. Then I choose you. You can't mean that. I do. I'm choosing you right now, Daniel. Every time I text you, every time I see you, I'm choosing you over what my family wants. And I'll keep choosing you until you tell me to stop.
He didn't know what to say. No one had ever chosen him like this before. Not Mia's mother, who'd left when things got hard. Not his own parents, who'd been supportive but distant. No one had looked at him and decided he was worth fighting for. I'm scared, he admitted. Me too. What if we're making a huge mistake? Then we'll make it together. He kissed her again, slower this time, trying to memorize the feeling. When they broke apart, he stayed close, their foreheads touching. I should go, he said. Mia's sleepover ends tomorrow at 10, and I need to pick her up. Will you tell her? About us? I think I have to. She already knows something's going on. Isabella smiled. She's perceptive. She gets it from me. They stood at her door, neither wanting to let go. Finally, Daniel forced himself to step back. I'll text you tomorrow, he said. You better. He drove home with his mind racing, trying to process everything that had happened. He'd kissed her. He'd told her he wanted this. He'd stepped fully into territory he'd been avoiding for weeks. And it felt terrifying and right in equal measure. When he got home, the apartment felt too quiet, too empty without Mia there. He checked his phone and saw a message from Sophie's mom. Girls are asleep. Mia's doing great. See you tomorrow. Another message, this one from Isabella. I meant what I said, all of it. He typed back, so did I. Then he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, and wondered what the hell he'd gotten himself into. The morning Daniel picked up Mia from Sophie's house, she took one look at his face and knew. You kissed her, she said, matter-of-factly, climbing into the back seat with her overnight bag. Daniel nearly drove into a mailbox. What? You have that look. Like you're happy but also kind of scared. Sophie's mom had that look when she started dating Mr. Peterson from the gym. It's not the same thing. Sure, Dad. She buckled her seatbelt, grinning. So when do I get to see her again? Like officially, not just in parking lots? He gripped the steering wheel tighter. This was the conversation he'd been dreading and wanting in equal measure. Would you want that? To spend time with her? Duh. She seems cool, and she makes you less boring. I'm not boring. Dad, you alphabetize the spices. You're super boring, but in a good way, she added quickly. A safe boring, but maybe some unboring would be okay too. Daniel felt something loosen in his chest. He'd been so afraid that bringing someone into their carefully balanced life would upset Mia, would make her feel replaced or pushed aside. But here she was, 8 years old and apparently more emotionally mature than he was. I'll talk to Isabella, he said. See if we can plan something. Good. Can we get pancakes now? Sophie's mom made us oatmeal, and it was disgusting. Pancakes it is. Later that afternoon, while Mia was absorbed in building an elaborate dinosaur habitat out of cardboard boxes, Daniel called Isabella. Hey, she answered, and he could hear the smile in her voice. How was the sleepover pickup? Mia knows about us. Well, about the kissing part. She's apparently very perceptive about these things. How did she take it? She asked when she could see you again, officially. There was a pause. Really? Really. I think she's been waiting for me to do something like this for years. According to her, I'm safe boring, and she's ready for some unboring. Isabella laughed, the sound warm and genuine. Safe boring. I like that. So what do we do? Maybe we could do something together. The three of us? Nothing big, just, I don't know, lunch or a park or something. I'd like that. I'd really like that. They made plans for the following Saturday. A simple lunch at a casual place, nothing that would put pressure on anyone. Daniel tried not to think about all the ways it could go wrong. The week that followed felt like existing in a weird bubble.
At work, Daniel kept his head down and avoided the executive floors entirely. Isabella texted him throughout the day. Small things, observations about ridiculous meetings, complaints about her father pushing another dinner with another approved candidate. He sent her pictures Mia drew in art class, updates about broken printers, jokes that probably weren't funny to anyone but them. It felt normal and completely surreal at the same time. On Thursday, his phone rang instead of buzzing with a text. Isabella's name flashed on the screen. "Hey," he answered. "What's wrong?" "How do you know something's wrong?" "Because you usually text. Calling means it's urgent or bad." She sighed. "You're getting to know me too well. Can you talk?" He was in the break room, supposedly grabbing coffee. "Yeah, I've got a few minutes. My father wants to have dinner with me tonight. He says it's important, which usually means he's either angry about something or has another plan for my life that I'm going to hate." "Do you think he knows? About us?" "I don't think so. We've been careful, but I don't know what else would warrant an emergency dinner." "You want me to come rescue you?" She laughed, but it sounded strained. "I wish, but no, this is something I have to face. I just wanted to hear your voice first. You've got this. You're the strongest person I know." "I don't feel strong right now. I feel like I'm 16 again, waiting to be told what to do." "Then don't be 16. Be the woman who texted a stranger at 9:47 at night asking for help. Be the woman who walked out of dinner with Richard What's-His-Name without looking back. Be you." There was silence then. "How do you always know what to say?" "I don't. I'm mostly making it up as I go." "Well, you're good at it." He heard voices in the background on her end. "I have to go. Meeting in 5, but Daniel?" "Yeah?" "Thank you for being you." She hung up before he could respond. Daniel stood in the break room holding his phone, feeling the weight of what they were building together and how fragile it all felt. That evening, while Daniel was helping Mia with her reading homework, his phone lit up with a call from Isabella again. It was past 9, later than she usually contacted him on weeknights. "I need to see you," she said when he answered. Her voice was tight, controlled in a way that told him she was barely holding it together. "What happened?" "Not on the phone." "Can you come to the park? Our bench?" He looked at Mia, who was watching him with knowing eyes. "Give me 30 minutes. He called his neighbor, Mrs. Chen, an older woman who'd lived next door for 3 years and occasionally watched Mia in emergencies. She agreed immediately, showing up in her robe and slippers with a crossword puzzle book under her arm. "Go," she said. "Mia and I will be fine." "Thanks, Mrs. Chen. I owe you." "You owe me nothing. Go help your girl." Daniel didn't bother correcting her. He just grabbed his jacket and keys. Isabella was already at the park when he arrived, sitting on the same bench as before, but this time she wasn't composed. Her hair was pulled out of its usual sleek style, her makeup smudged around her eyes. She'd been crying. "Hey," Daniel said softly, sitting beside her. "What happened?" She turned to look at him, and the devastation in her face made his chest ache. "He knows." "Your father?" "He had someone follow me to the restaurant last weekend. He has photos of us kissing in the parking lot." Her voice cracked. "He showed them to me at dinner. Right there in the middle of the restaurant, he pulled out his phone and showed me pictures of us together." Daniel felt ice flood his veins. "What did he say?" "That I'm jeopardizing everything our family has built. That I'm being selfish and reckless. That if I continue this relationship, there will be consequences." She wiped at her eyes angrily. "He gave me an ultimatum. End it with you, or he'll make sure you're fired and blacklisted from every tech company in the city. He has the connections to do it, Daniel. He could destroy your career." The words hit him like a physical blow. His job wasn't just a paycheck. It was health insurance for Mia, stability, the foundation of the life he'd built for them. Losing it would mean starting over from nothing, and he couldn't afford nothing, not with a daughter depending on him. "So end it," he said quietly. Isabella's head snapped toward him. "What?" "End it. Tell him you broke up with me. I'll back you up if anyone asks. We go back to how things were before." "You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious. I won't let you sacrifice your future for me, and I can't risk my daughter's stability. This was always going to end badly. At least this way we can control how." She stood abruptly, anger flashing across her face. "No, absolutely not. I'm not doing this again." "Doing what?" "Letting my father make my choices for me.
letting fear win. She was pacing now, her hands shaking. I told you I would choose you. I meant it. Isabella, be rational. What he's threatening, I don't care what he's threatening. I'm done caring what he threatens. I'm 30 years old, and I've spent my entire life being who he wanted me to be. I won't do it anymore. Even if it costs you everything? Even then. She stopped in front of him, her eyes fierce. You want to know what else he said? He said you're using me, that you saw an opportunity to climb the social ladder and you're taking advantage of my loneliness. He said you probably have a girlfriend on the side and you're just playing me for money. Daniel felt anger surge through him. I know it's garbage. I told him he was wrong, that he doesn't know you at all. You know what he said? Then prove me wrong. Bring him to dinner. Let me meet the man who's worth throwing away your future for. He wants to meet me? Sunday night. At the house. He said if I'm serious about this, I should be willing to let him see what I'm choosing. She knelt in front of him, taking his hands. I know it's asking a lot. I know you didn't sign up for meeting my family or dealing with this kind of drama, but I need you to understand something. I'm not asking you to fight this battle for me. I'm asking you to fight it with me. Daniel looked at her, really looked at her, at the determination in her face, the fear underneath it, the hope that he wouldn't walk away. And he thought about what Mia had said in the car, about safe boring versus unboring, about how he'd spent 8 years building walls to keep everything stable and predictable. Maybe it was time to stop hiding behind those walls. Okay, he said. Okay? I'll go to dinner, I'll meet your father, but Isabella, you need to be sure about this, because once we do this, there's no going back to how things were. Your family will know, people at work will find out eventually, and it's going to get messy. I'm sure. She squeezed his hands. I've never been more sure of anything. He pulled her into his arms, holding her while she cried, not from sadness this time, but from relief. They sat like that for a long time, two people who'd found something unexpected and weren't ready to let it go. You should know, Daniel said eventually. Mia wants to see you, officially. We were supposed to have lunch on Saturday. Isabella pulled back, wiping her eyes. We still can if you want. Are you sure after everything tonight? Especially after everything tonight. I want to be part of your life, Daniel. The real parts, not just the late-night rescues and secret meetings. I want to know your daughter. I want to be someone you don't have to hide. She's going to ask you a million questions. Good. I'll ask her a million back. They stayed at the park for another hour, talking through logistics and fears and what Sunday dinner might look like. When Daniel finally drove home, it was past midnight. Mrs. Chen was asleep on his couch, the crossword puzzle finished on the coffee table. He woke her gently and walked her next door, thanking her profusely. She must be special, Mrs. Chen said at her doorway. This girl of yours. She is. Good. You deserve special. You've been alone too long. Inside his apartment, Daniel checked on Mia. She was fast asleep, curled up with the stuffed triceratops she'd had since she was 3. He stood in her doorway for a while, watching her breathe, wondering what kind of life he was building for them now. Saturday arrived faster than Daniel expected. He woke up nervous, which Mia noticed immediately. You're being weird again, she announced at breakfast. I'm not weird. You made my eggs wrong. You never make my eggs wrong. He looked down at the plate. She was right. He'd scrambled them when she liked them fried. Sorry, Bug. I'll fix them. It's okay. I'll eat them anyway. She took a bite, watching him over her fork. You're nervous about today. A little. Because Isabella's coming to lunch with us? Yeah. Dad. Mia set down her fork, suddenly serious. It's going to be fine. I'm not a baby. I'm not going to freak out or be mean to her. I know that. Then what are you worried about? How could he explain it? That he was terrified his daughter and the woman he was falling for wouldn't connect? That introducing them made everything more real, more permanent, more capable of falling apart? I just want you both to be happy, he said finally. Then stop stressing. You're making it weird. They met Isabella at a burger place near the waterfront, the kind with outdoor seating and paper menus. She was already there when they arrived, dressed casually in jeans and a simple sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked nervous too, Daniel noticed, which somehow made him feel better. Hi, she said, standing as they approached. Hi, Daniel replied. Mia didn't hesitate. She walked right up to Isabella and stuck out her hand.
I'm Mia. You're the one who makes my dad smile at his phone. Isabella laughed, shaking her hand. Guilty. It's really nice to officially meet you, Mia. You too. Can I ask you questions? Absolutely.
They sat down, and Mia immediately launched into an interrogation that would have made a prosecutor proud. What was Isabella's favorite color? Did she like dinosaurs? Had she ever broken a bone? What was the biggest thing she'd ever bought? Did she know how to ride a bike? Isabella answered every question with complete sincerity, not talking down to Mia or treating her questions like they were childish. When Mia asked if she was rich, Isabella said yes. When Mia asked if that made her happy, Isabella said no, not by itself. What makes you happy then? Mia asked. Isabella glanced at Daniel, then back at Mia. Right now? Sitting here with you and your dad, that makes me happy. Good answer, Mia said, satisfied. They ordered burgers, and the conversation flowed more easily than Daniel had dared to hope. Isabella told stories about disastrous business meetings. Mia told stories about her classmates and the drama of third-grade lunch tables. Daniel mostly watched them interact, feeling something warm and terrifying settle in his chest. After lunch, they walked along the waterfront. Mia ran ahead, stopping to look at boats and throw rocks into the water. Isabella walked beside Daniel, their hands brushing occasionally. She's incredible, Isabella said quietly. She likes you. That's big. You think so? I know so. She doesn't open up to people easily. She's like me that way. Isabella slipped her hand into his. I'm glad she does. And I'm glad you do too. They watched Mia climb on a railing to get a better view of a boat coming into the harbor. Daniel wanted to tell her to get down, that it wasn't safe, but he stopped himself. She was being careful. She was fine. I'm scared about tomorrow, Isabella admitted. About dinner with my father. Me too. What if it goes badly? What if he's horrible to you? Then we deal with it. Together, right? That's what you said. She squeezed his hand. Right. Together. Mia came running back, breathless and grinning. There's an ice cream place down there. Can we get some? It's like 50 degrees out, Daniel said. So? Ice cream doesn't have a temperature requirement. Isabella laughed. She's got a point. They got ice cream. Mia ordered chocolate with gummy bears. Isabella got vanilla, and Daniel got coffee flavor because apparently he was predictable. They sat on a bench eating while Mia told them about a book she was reading about marine biology. Did you know that octopuses have 3 hearts, she said? And they're really smart. They can solve puzzles and stuff. I didn't know that, Isabella said. That's fascinating. Right? I want to be a marine biologist when I grow up, or a paleontologist. I haven't decided yet. You've got time to figure it out. That's what Dad says, but I like having a plan. Daniel smiled. Also like me. You're basically the same person, Isabella said. It's kind of adorable. Mia beamed. Daniel felt his face heat. When it was time to go, Mia hugged Isabella goodbye without any prompting. Thanks for lunch, and for being nice to my dad. He needs people to be nice to him. Thank you for giving me a chance, Isabella said. That means a lot. In the car on the way home, Mia was quiet for a while before saying, I like her, Dad. Like, really like her. Yeah? Yeah, she doesn't treat me like I'm stupid, and she makes you happy. Those are the important things. What about you? Does she make you happy? Mia thought about it. I think she could, if she sticks around. She's planning to. Good. Because I was starting to think you were going to be alone forever. I wasn't alone. I had you. You know what I mean. Alone, like romantically alone. When did you learn the word romantically? Sophie taught me. She watches a lot of movies with her mom. Daniel shook his head, smiling despite himself. Well, thanks, Sophie, for me. That night, after Mia was asleep, Isabella called. Today was perfect, she said. Mia is amazing. You did such a good job with her. She did most of it herself. I just tried not to screw up too badly. You're a good dad, Daniel. Like, genuinely good. She knows she's loved. I hope so. She does. I could see it in everything. How she talks to you, how comfortable she is, how happy. You gave her that. He didn't know what to say. Compliments about his parenting always made him uncomfortable, mostly because he spent so much time second-guessing every decision. Thank you for today, he said instead. for being so patient with her questions. Are you kidding? I loved it. She's honest in a way adults never are. It was refreshing. She asked if you were rich, and I told her the truth. I am. But money doesn't fix loneliness or make family dinners less awful or give you someone who shows up when you ask. You have that now. I do. Her voice softened. I'm nervous about tomorrow, about you meeting my father. We'll get through it. What if he's cruel? He can be when he wants to make a point. Then I'll handle it. I've dealt with difficult people before. Not like him. Maybe not. But I'm not going to let him intimidate me into walking away from you. There was a pause. You could, though. Walk away. And I wouldn't blame you. This is a lot to take on. My family, the complications, all of it. Isabella, I'm serious. I dragged you into this mess. You have every right to... I'm not walking away. Stop trying to give me an out. I'm not trying to... Okay, maybe I am. But only because I need you to know you have one. That I won't hold it against you if this is too much. It is too much, Daniel admitted. It's way too much. But I'm doing it anyway. Why? Because you're worth it. Because Mia likes you, and she has better judgment than I do. And because for the first time in 8 years, I feel like I'm living instead of just surviving. He heard her breath catch. Daniel, I'll see you tomorrow. Text me the address and time. 6:30, and dress nice. He'll judge you for everything, including your clothes. I'll do my best. After they hung up, Daniel went to his closet and stared at his options. He owned exactly 2 button-down shirts, both from the discount rack at a department store. 1 pair of dress pants that still fit. Shoes that were supposed to be for interviews but mostly collected dust. It would have to be enough. Sunday evening, Daniel dropped Mia off at Mrs. Chen's house with strict instructions to be good and do her homework. You look nervous, Mia said before going inside. I am nervous. Just be yourself. You're great when you're yourself. When did you become the parent in this relationship? She grinned. Someone has to be. The drive to Isabella's family estate took 40 minutes, each mile taking him further from anything familiar. The houses got bigger, the lawns more manicured, the gates more imposing. When he finally pulled up to the address Isabella had sent, he sat in his car for a full minute, staring. It wasn't a house. It was a compound. Stone walls, iron gates, a driveway that curved through landscaped gardens. This was the world Isabella came from, the life she'd been born into. And he was a single dad in a 10-year-old sedan wearing discount clothes, about to have dinner with people who probably spent more on wine than he made in a month. His phone buzzed. Isabella. You here? I'm watching from the window. You can do this. He took a deep breath and got out of the car. Isabella met him at the door, and the relief on her face was immediate. She was dressed formally, her hair perfect, her makeup flawless. But when she grabbed his hand, he felt her trembling. Thank you for coming, she whispered. Wouldn't miss it. She led him through a foyer that looked like it belonged in a museum, down a hallway lined with what were probably actual original paintings, and into a dining room that could have seated 30 people. Currently, it seated 2, a man and a woman, both dressed like they were about to attend a state dinner. Isabella's father was exactly what Daniel expected. Tall, imposing, with silver hair and a face that gave nothing away. Her mother was elegant and cold, jewelry that probably cost more than Daniel's car glinting at her throat and wrists. Father, Mother, Isabella said, her voice steady. This is Daniel Brooks. Her father stood, extending a hand. His grip was firm, calculated to intimidate. Mr. Brooks, please sit. Daniel sat. Isabella sat beside him, close enough that their knees touched under the table. So, her father said, settling back into his chair. You're the young man who's been occupying my daughter's time. Yes, sir. Tell me about yourself. Isabella says you work in IT at the company? I do. I handle network infrastructure and technical support. A tech support specialist. He said it like he was identifying a species of insect. And before that? Before that, I worked at a computer repair shop while finishing my degree. Which university? State University. I did it part-time while raising my daughter. Her mother spoke for the first time. You have a child? Yes, ma'am. Her name is Mia. She's 8. And the mother? Not in the picture. Silence fell like a hammer. Isabella's hand found his under the table, squeezing tightly. Her father leaned forward. Let me be direct, Mr. Brooks. My daughter is set to inherit a multi-billion-dollar company. She has responsibilities, expectations, a legacy to uphold. What exactly do you bring to this equation besides complications? Daniel felt anger flash through him, hot and immediate, but he kept his voice level. Honestly? Not much by your standards. I don't have money or connections or a family name. I'm just a guy trying to do right by his kid and build a decent life. Then why are you here? Because your daughter asked me to be. Because she deserves someone who sees her as a person, not a business asset. And because I care about her enough to sit through this dinner even though we both know you've already decided I'm not good enough. Her mother gasped. Isabella's grip on his hand tightened almost painfully. Her father's expression didn't change. You're right. I have decided that. You're not suitable for my daughter. You have nothing to offer her, and this relationship is a distraction she can't afford. With respect, sir, that's not your decision to make. Isn't it? I could have you fired tomorrow, blacklisted, make it impossible for you to find work in this industry. Don't think I won't do it to protect my daughter's future. Isabella stood abruptly. Stop it, both of you. Her father looked at her, genuine surprise crossing his face for the first time. Isabella's mother set down her wine glass with a soft clink. Sit down, Isabella, her father said. No, I'm done sitting quietly while you treat people like they're beneath us. Daniel came here as a courtesy to me, and you're acting like he's on trial. He is on trial. You're my daughter. Anyone who wants to be part of your life has to prove they're worthy. Worthy according to what metric? Money? Status? The right last name? Her voice was shaking now, but she didn't back down. You want to know what Daniel brings to the equation? He shows up. When I needed help, when I was drowning in expectations and fake smiles and men who only saw my bank account, he showed up. No agenda, no conditions, just because I asked. That's the bare minimum of human decency, her father said dismissively. You'd be surprised how rare it is in our world. Isabella looked at her mother, who hadn't said anything since the revelation about Mia. You taught me to be strategic, to think long-term, to never make decisions based on emotion. Well, this is strategic. Daniel makes me better. He makes me want to be better. That's worth more than any business merger or social alliance. Her mother finally spoke, her voice cool and measured. And his daughter? You've thought about what it means to take on someone else's child. I've met her. She's smart and funny and kind. Yes, I've thought about it. You're 30 years old with no experience raising children. You work 80-hour weeks. How exactly do you plan to... I'll figure it out. People do it every day. Her father stood, his chair scraping against the floor. This is exactly what I was afraid of. You're thinking with your heart instead of your head. In 6 months, when the novelty wears off and you realize how incompatible your lives are, you'll have wasted time you can't get back. Daniel had been quiet through this exchange, but now he stood as well. You're right that we're from different worlds. You're right that this is complicated. But you're wrong about one thing. I'm not going anywhere in 6 months. I don't do casual, especially not with my daughter involved. So if this doesn't work out, it won't be because I gave up. Her father's eyes narrowed. Bold words. Let's see if you can back them up when the real pressure starts. What real pressure? The board meeting next month. There's already gossip about Isabella being seen with someone inappropriate. If this relationship becomes public knowledge, there will be questions about her judgment, her priorities, her fitness to lead. Are you prepared to watch her career suffer because of you? Father, that's enough, Isabella said. Is it? Because I'm trying to protect you from making a mistake that could cost you everything you've worked for. Or you're trying to control me like you always have. The words hung in the air, sharp and final. Her mother looked down at her plate. Her father's jaw tightened. I think we're done here, he said coldly. Mr. Brooks, thank you for coming. I'm sure you can see yourself out. Actually, Isabella said, we're both leaving. She grabbed Daniel's hand and walked out of the dining room. Her parents didn't follow. They went down the hallway, through the foyer, out the front door. Isabella was breathing hard, her hand trembling in his. I'm sorry, she said when they reached his car. I'm so sorry. He was worse than I thought he'd be. You don't have to apologize for him. I wanted him to see what I see, to understand why this matters, but he only sees what doesn't fit his plan. Daniel pulled her into his arms. She was shaking now, adrenaline and anger and fear all catching up at once. "Hey, look at me." She did, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "That was brutal," he said, "but we got through it together." "Did we?" "He threatened your job, Daniel. He basically said he'd destroy your career if we stay together." "Let him try. I'm good at what I do. If he fires me, I'll find something else." "You can't just... It's not that simple. He has connections everywhere. He could make one phone call and then I'll work freelance or start my own consulting business or move cities if I have to. I'm not letting him scare me away." She stared at him. "You'd really do that? Upend your whole life?" "I'd do a lot of things for you. Apparently that includes having dinner with people who think I'm not good enough to breathe the same air as their daughter." Despite everything, she laughed. It was watery and a little broken, but it was real. "You were amazing in there, standing up to him like that." "I was terrified." "You didn't show it. Years of practice. When you're a single parent, you get good at pretending you have everything under control, even when you're falling apart inside." She kissed him, hard and desperate, right there in front of her parents' house. When she pulled back, she said, "I meant what I said in there. You make me want to be better." "You're already pretty great." "I'm a mess. I'm 30 years old and I still let my father intimidate me. I run a company, but I can't run my own life." "That's not true. You walked out of that dinner. You chose this, chose us, even knowing what it might cost. That's not a mess. That's brave." She rested her forehead against his chest. "What do we do now?" "Now you go back inside, apologize for leaving abruptly, and smooth things over enough that your father doesn't immediately fire me tomorrow morning." "I'm not apologizing." "Isabella, no. I'm done apologizing for wanting something that makes me happy. If he fires you, we'll deal with it. But I'm not going back in there and pretending I was wrong." Daniel wanted to argue, to point out all the practical reasons why making peace was the smart move. But looking at her face, at the determination there, he realized she needed this, needed to draw a line and stand behind it. "Okay," he said. "No apologies." "Thank you." She stepped back, wiping her eyes. "I should let you go. You need to pick up Mia." "Yeah, you going to be okay?" "Eventually. Right now I'm going to go home, drink an entire bottle of wine, and question all my life choices." "Don't question this one." She smiled. "This one I'm keeping." He drove away, watching her in the rearview mirror as she stood in the driveway of her parents' house, alone but not defeated. When he got to Mrs. Chen's apartment, Mia took one look at his face and said, "That bad?" "Pretty bad." "Did they hate you?" "They weren't fans." She grabbed her backpack. "Their loss. You're awesome." "Thanks, Bug." "Did Isabella stick up for you?" "She did." "Good. That means she's a keeper." In the car on the way home, Mia was quiet for a while before asking, "Are you going to lose your job?" Daniel's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "I don't know, maybe." "Because of Isabella?" "Because of her father, technically, but yeah, because of us." "Would we be okay if you lost your job?" He wanted to lie, to tell her everything would be fine, but Mia deserved honesty. "It would be hard for a while. We'd have to be careful with money, maybe move somewhere cheaper. But we'd figure it out. We always do." "I don't want to move." "I know. But if we have to, it's okay, as long as we're together." His chest felt tight. "When did you get so grown up?" "I've always been grown up. You just don't notice because you're busy being dad worried all the time." That night, after Mia was asleep, Daniel sat at his kitchen table with his laptop and started updating his resume, just in case. He'd been at the company for 6 years, had good performance reviews, solid technical skills. But how much would that matter if Isabella's father made a few strategic phone calls? His phone buzzed. A text from Isabella. "Are you awake?" "Yeah, I can't sleep." "Me neither. Keep thinking about dinner." "Stop thinking about dinner. It's over." "My father called. After you left." Daniel's stomach dropped. "And?" "He said I have until the board meeting to end things with you. If I don't, he's going to force a vote on my position in the company. He has enough allies on the board to make it happen." Daniel stared at the message, reading it 3 times. He'd really do that? Force you out of your own family's company? He would. He thinks he's protecting the company's future. In his mind, I'm the problem that needs to be solved. "Isabella, if that's what it takes,
Don't. Don't you dare tell me to walk away. I was going to say if that's what it takes to make him back down, we can pretend to break up until after the board meeting. Buy some time, figure out a better strategy. No, I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not pretending. I'm tired of living my life in the shadows of what other people want. Even if it costs you the company? There was a long pause. I don't know. I built that company into what it is. I've given everything to it. The idea of losing it because I fell in love with the wrong person. She stopped. The message thread went quiet. Daniel's heart was pounding. She'd said love. She hadn't meant to, probably. It had just slipped out in the middle of her frustration. But she'd said it. A new message appeared. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. It's too soon and too much, and it's okay. It's not okay. We've barely been together for 2 months. I'm not expecting you to. I don't want you to feel pressured to, Isabella, stop. I'm just saying you don't have to respond or say anything back. I know this is moving fast, and I love you too. The typing indicator appeared and disappeared 3 times before her response came through. You do? Yeah, I do. Probably have for a while now. I was just too scared to admit it. Why scared? Because loving someone means they can hurt you. And I've been hurt before. So has Mia. I didn't want to risk that again. And now? Now I'm still scared. But I'm more scared of not having you in my life than I am of getting hurt. His phone rang. He answered immediately. Hi, Isabella said, her voice thick with emotion. Hi. I can't believe you just said that over text. You said it first. I didn't mean to. It just came out. I'm glad it did. There was silence on the line, the comfortable kind that felt like being in the same room together. Finally, Isabella said, What do we do now? About my father, about the board meeting, about all of it. We do what we've been doing. We show up for each other. We figure it out one day at a time. That's not much of a plan. No, but it's honest. And right now, that feels like enough. They stayed on the phone for another hour, talking about nothing important until they were both finally tired enough to sleep. The next morning at work, Daniel waited for the other shoe to drop. For security to show up at his desk, for HR to call him in for a meeting, for some sign that Isabella's father had made good on his threats. But the day passed normally. And the next day. And the day after that. On Thursday, Marcus from accounting stopped by his desk again. Still seeing her? He asked quietly. Yeah. You know people are talking, right? About her leaving that dinner with you, about arguments with her father. Let them talk. Daniel, I'm trying to help you here. The board meeting is in 3 weeks. If you two are still together when that happens, then we'll deal with it. Marcus shook his head. You're either very brave or very stupid. Probably a little of both. That weekend, Isabella came over to Daniel's apartment for the first time. Mia had been asking when she could see her again, and Daniel figured it was time to stop keeping his 2 worlds separate. The apartment was small and definitely not designed to impress billionaire CEOs. The furniture was secondhand, the carpet was stained in a few places, and the kitchen was barely big enough for 2 people. But it was clean and warm and full of Mia's artwork on the walls. This is perfect, Isabella said, looking around. You don't have to lie. I'm not lying. It feels like a home. My place feels like a hotel suite. Beautiful, but empty. Mia showed Isabella her room, pointing out every toy and explaining the elaborate organization system she'd developed for her stuffed animals. Isabella listened with complete attention, asking questions and genuinely seeming interested. And this is my favorite, Mia said, holding up the worn Triceratops. Dad got her for me when I was 3. Her name is Trixie. She looks well loved, Isabella said. She's been on every adventure with me. Mia looked at Isabella seriously. Do you have any stuffed animals? Not anymore. I used to have a stuffed rabbit when I was little, but I don't know what happened to it. That's sad. Everyone should have at least one stuffed animal. Later, while Mia was distracted with a movie, Daniel and Isabella sat in the kitchen drinking coffee. She's wonderful, Isabella said. You're raising an incredible kid. She makes it easy, most of the time. I don't think it's ever easy, but you make it look natural. It's not. I'm constantly worried I'm screwing something up, making the wrong choice, missing something important, not being enough. Isabella reached across the small table and took his hand. You're more than enough. She knows that. I hope so. I know so. The way she looks at you, the way she talks about you, she feels safe. That's everything. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Isabella said, I've been thinking about what happens after the board meeting if my father follows through on his threat. And?
I could fight it, get lawyers involved, make it messy, or I could walk away, start something new. Neither option is great. What do you want to do? Honestly, I want to keep the company. I built it into what it is today, but not if it means losing you. That's not a choice you should have to make. But it is. My father made sure of that. Daniel squeezed her hand. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. If you fight, I'll be right there. If you walk away, we'll figure out what comes next together. You make it sound simple. It's not simple, but the choice is you, me, Mia, that's what matters. Everything else we can work around. Mia appeared in the doorway. Are you guys being mushy again? We're having a conversation, Daniel said.
A mushy conversation, I can tell. She climbed into Isabella's lap without hesitation. Can you stay for dinner? Dad's making spaghetti and he always makes too much. Isabella looked at Daniel, questioning. He nodded. I'd love to, she said.
They ate dinner at the small kitchen table that barely fit 3 people. Mia dominated the conversation, telling stories about school and her friends and a science project about volcanoes. Isabella listened and asked questions and laughed at all the right moments. Watching them together, Daniel felt something shift. This wasn't 2 separate parts of his life anymore. This was his life, whole and complicated and terrifying and perfect. After dinner, Mia convinced Isabella to play a board game that had rules she'd invented herself and changed constantly. They played for an hour, Isabella getting increasingly confused about what was allowed while Mia declared victory 3 separate times. You're cheating, Isabella accused, laughing. I'm not cheating. I'm adapting the rules to improve gameplay. That's literally cheating. Only if you can prove it. Daniel watched from the couch, his chest tight with something he was almost afraid to name. This was what he wanted. This feeling, this moment, this life. When it was time for Mia to go to bed, she hugged Isabella goodnight. You should come over more often, she said. You're good at board games, even though you lose a lot. I'll work on that, Isabella promised. After Mia was tucked in, Daniel walked Isabella to her car. It was late, the street quiet except for distant traffic. Thank you for tonight, she said, for letting me in. Thank you for being here, for wanting to be here. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. She kissed him, soft and slow. I meant what I said, about loving you. I know, I meant it too. We're really doing this, building something together. Looks like it. It's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying, he agreed. She laughed, resting her head against his chest. But worth it. Definitely worth it. The following week passed in a strange blur of normal days and mounting tension. At work, Daniel felt eyes on him constantly. People whispering in break rooms, conversations stopping when he walked by. The gossip had spread faster than he'd expected. On Wednesday, he was called into HR. Jennifer Martinez, the head of human resources, sat across from him with a folder on her desk and an expression that gave nothing away. Daniel, thank you for coming in. Is there a problem? That's what I'm trying to determine. She opened the folder. Company policy prohibits relationships between employees at different levels of management. You're aware of this policy? I am. And you're aware that Isabella Laurent is several levels above you in the organization? Yes. So you understand why this is a concern. Daniel kept his voice steady. I understand that it looks complicated, but Isabella and I didn't plan this. It just happened. Things like this don't just happen, Daniel. There are choices involved. You're right, and we chose each other. Jennifer sighed, closing the folder. Look, off the record, I get it. You seem like a decent guy, and everyone knows Isabella works too hard and deserves some happiness. But on the record, this is a mess. The board is aware of the situation. There are questions about conflicts of interest, about favoritism, about what happens if the relationship ends badly. What are you asking me to do? I'm asking you to think carefully about whether this is worth the consequences. For both of you. It is. Even if it costs you your job? Even then. She studied him for a long moment. You're either the most romantic person I've ever met or the most reckless. Can it be both? Despite herself, she smiled.
Get out of my office, Brooks. And for what it's worth, I hope it works out.
That night, Daniel told Isabella about the HR meeting. They were at her apartment this time, sitting on her couch with takeout containers spread across the coffee table. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "This is my fault. If I'd been more careful, more discreet." "Stop. We both knew this was coming." "But your job, Daniel. If they fire you because of me, then I find another job. We've been over this. It's not that simple." "It is that simple. You're more important than a job." She set down her food, turning to face him fully. "The board meeting is next week. My father's going to make his move. I can feel it. He's been too quiet, too strategic. He's building a case. Let him build it. We'll be ready. Will we? Because I don't know what ready looks like anymore." Daniel pulled her close. "Ready looks like this. You and me facing whatever comes together. That's all we can do. I don't want you to lose everything because of me."
I'm not losing everything.
"I'm choosing what matters." She was quiet for a moment, then, "What if I resign? Before the board meeting. Just step down, walk away on my own terms. Is that what you want?" "I don't know what I want anymore. Except you. I'm sure about that." "Then start there. Figure out the rest later." They spent the rest of the evening not talking about the board meeting or her father or what might happen. Instead, they talked about small things: Mia's upcoming school play, a book Isabella was reading, plans for the weekend. Normal couple things, as if their relationship wasn't about to be judged by a board of directors. The weekend before the board meeting, Daniel took Mia to the park. She'd been quieter than usual lately, picking up on his stress even though he tried to hide it.
"Is Isabella going to be okay?" she asked, swinging higher and higher. "I think so. Why?" "You've been worried, and when you're worried, it's usually about me or her." "I'm always worried. It's kind of my default state." "But more worried than usual." He couldn't lie to her. "Yeah, more worried than usual. Is it because of her dad?" "How do you know about her dad?"
"I hear things, and you're not as quiet on the phone as you think you are." She jumped off the swing, landing perfectly.
"He doesn't like you." "No, he doesn't." "Because you're not rich?" "That's part of it." She walked over to the bench where he was sitting, climbing up beside him. "That's dumb. Being rich doesn't make someone good." "No, it doesn't." "You're good, Dad. You're the best person I know." His throat felt tight. "Thanks, Bug."
So if her dad doesn't see that, he's the one who's wrong, not you. She said it with such certainty, such absolute faith in him, that Daniel almost believed it himself. "What if things get complicated?" he asked. "What if I lose my job, or we have to move, or—" "Then we'll figure it out. We always do." She leaned against him. "Is Isabella worth it?" "Yeah, she is." "Then stop worrying so much. It'll work out." He wanted to have her confidence, her simple belief that things would be okay. But he was the adult here, the one who had to plan for worst-case scenarios and have backup plans and make sure his daughter was protected no matter what happened. His phone buzzed. "Isabella." "Dinner tomorrow night? Just us? I need to see you before Monday." He typed back, "Absolutely. Where?" "That diner, where it all started." The next evening, Daniel met Isabella at the same diner where they'd had coffee after the first rescue. It felt significant somehow, coming full circle. She was already in their usual booth when he arrived, and the anxiety on her face was clear even from across the room. "Hey," he said, sliding in across from her. "Hey, thanks for coming." "Of course, what's wrong?" She took a breath. "I've made a decision about the board meeting." His heart started pounding. "Okay, I'm going to resign. Not because my father's forcing me to, but because I choose to. I'm going to step down as CEO, take a severance package, and walk away on my own terms." Daniel stared at her. "Isabella, let me finish. I've been thinking about this for weeks. That company has been my entire life since I was 22. I've given it everything, my time, my energy, my relationships, and for what? So I can spend 80 hours a week in meetings and make decisions that make my father's friends richer? But you love that company. I love building it. I loved making it better. But I don't love what it's become. And I definitely don't love what it's cost me." She reached across the table for his hand. "I want a life, Daniel, a real one, with you and Mia and normal things like dinner at home and lazy Sundays and not checking my phone every 5 minutes." You're sure about this?
I'm terrified, but I'm sure. What will you do? I don't know yet. Maybe start something new, something smaller, something that's actually mine. Or maybe take some time to figure out who I am without a corporate title. She smiled nervously. Is that crazy? It's brave. It's impulsive. Sometimes those are the same thing. They ordered coffee, and Isabella pulled out her phone, showing him the resignation letter she'd drafted. It was professional, gracious, and gave no indication of the real reasons behind her decision. When are you submitting it? Daniel asked. Tomorrow morning, before the board meeting. I want to do it on my terms, not wait for them to force me out. Your father's going to lose it. Probably. But it'll be too late. Once it's submitted, it's done.
Daniel looked at her across the table, at the woman who texted him 2 months ago asking for a rescue, who'd turned his careful, controlled life upside down, who was now about to walk away from billions of dollars because she wanted something real. I love you, he said. She smiled, some of the tension leaving her face. I love you too. And just so we're clear, you're not doing this for me, right? This is what you want? It's what I want. You're part of the reason why, but not all of it. I've been unhappy for years. I just didn't let myself admit it until I met you. They stayed at the diner until closing, talking through logistics and fears and possibilities. When they finally left, Isabella seemed lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted. Want to come back to my place? She asked. I don't want to be alone tonight. Yeah, let me text Mrs. Chen. They drove separately to her apartment, and Daniel found himself thinking about how much had changed since that first night. Back then, Isabella had been this untouchable figure, and he'd been helping her escape from a life he didn't understand. Now she was walking away from that life entirely, choosing something new and uncertain, choosing him. At her apartment, they sat on the couch, not talking, just being together. Eventually, Isabella fell asleep with her head on his shoulder, exhausted from weeks of stress and impossible decisions. Daniel stayed awake, watching her sleep, and tried to imagine what came next. A new job for both of them, probably. A different kind of life. Uncertainty and risk and all the things he'd spent 8 years trying to avoid. But also this, her hand in his, Mia's acceptance, the possibility of something real and lasting. His phone buzzed quietly. A text from Mia, sent from Mrs. Chen's phone. Don't worry so much, Dad. It's going to be okay. Love you. He smiled in the dark and sent back, Love you too, Bug. Tomorrow, Isabella would resign. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight, sitting in her apartment with her sleeping against his shoulder, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Morning came too fast. Daniel woke up on Isabella's couch, his neck stiff from the awkward angle he'd slept at. Isabella was already awake, standing by the window with her phone in her hand, staring at the resignation letter she'd written the night before. You okay? He asked, sitting up. She didn't turn around. I'm about to send this. Once I do, there's no taking it back. Do you want to take it back? No, but I'm still terrified. He stood, walking over to her. That's normal. You're making a huge decision. What if I'm wrong? What if I regret this? Then you'll deal with it. But Isabella, you've been miserable for years. At least this way, you're choosing something different instead of just accepting what you have. She looked at him, searching his face. You really believe that? I do. She took a breath, then hit send. The email went through with a soft whoosh. Just like that, it was done. Oh my God, she whispered. I just quit. You just quit, he confirmed. She set her phone down, her hands shaking slightly. My father is going to call in about 10 minutes, absolutely furious. Probably. The board meeting is in 6 hours. Yep. And I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life now. Welcome to how the rest of us live. She laughed, a little hysterical but genuine. This is insane. I just walked away from a multi-billion-dollar company. To be fair, it was kind of a hostile work environment. That's one way to put it. She turned to him, and despite the fear in her eyes, there was something else there too. Relief. Thank you for being here, for making me believe this was possible. You did this yourself. I just watched. Her phone started ringing exactly 9 minutes after she sent the email. Her father's name flashed on the screen. Here we go, she said, and answered. Hello, Father. Daniel could hear yelling through the phone even from several feet away. Isabella held the phone away from her ear, wincing. "Are you finished?" she said calmly when the yelling paused. "Good. Because I'm not changing my mind. I submitted my resignation this morning, and by the end of the day, it will be processed. You can be angry about it, but it's done." More yelling. Isabella's jaw tightened. "No, this isn't about him. This is about me finally making a decision for myself instead of following your script. I'm 30 years old, Father. I get to choose my own life." A pause. Then her expression shifted to something harder. "You want to know if it was worth it? Ask me in a year. Ask me when I'm actually happy instead of successful." She hung up before he could respond. Her hands were shaking. Daniel took the phone from her gently and set it on the counter. "You did good," he said. "I just destroyed my relationship with my father." "You set a boundary. That's different." "Doesn't feel different." "It will. Eventually." She leaned against him, and he held her while she processed what she'd just done. Her phone kept buzzing, texts from board members, from her mother, from colleagues who'd already heard the news. She ignored all of them. "I should go into the office," she said finally. "Clear out my desk before the board meeting. I don't want to be there when it happens." "You want company?" "No, this is something I need to do alone. But thank you." He kissed her forehead. "Call me when you're done." "I will." Daniel went home to check on Mia before work. She was eating cereal at the kitchen table, still in her pajamas. "You stayed out all night," she observed. "I stayed at Isabella's. Mrs. Chen knew." "I know, she told me." Mia studied him. "Did something happen? You look weird." "Isabella quit her job today." Mia's eyes went wide. "Really?" "Really? Because of you?" "Partly. Mostly because she was unhappy and needed a change." "Is she going to be okay?" "I think so. She's scared, but she's strong." Mia nodded thoughtfully. "Change is scary, but sometimes it's good." "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just don't listen." At work, the office was buzzing with gossip. By noon, everyone knew Isabella had resigned. By 2, the rumors had expanded to include everything from a nervous breakdown to running away with Daniel to start a new life in another country. Marcus stopped by his desk around 3. "Is it true? She really quit?" "She did." "Because of you?" "That's what everyone seems to think." "Is it true?" Daniel considered the question. "It's more complicated than that, but yeah, I'm part of the reason." "Man!" Marcus shook his head. "That's either the most romantic thing I've ever heard or the most reckless. Maybe both. Definitely both." "What are you going to do now?" "Keep working until someone fires me, I guess." "You think they will?" "Probably. The conflict of interest issue doesn't go away just because she resigned." "That's rough." "Yeah." But Daniel found he wasn't as worried as he thought he'd be. If he got fired, he'd find something else. He had skills, experience, and references from people who weren't on the board. They'd be okay. His phone rang around 4. Isabella's name flashed on the screen. "Hey," he answered, stepping out into the hallway for privacy. "How'd it go?" "Strange. I cleaned out my office, said goodbye to people I've worked with for years, and walked out of the building for the last time as an employee. It felt surreal." "I bet." "The board meeting is starting in an hour. My father's probably going to use my resignation as proof that I was unstable, unreliable, all the things he's always accused me of being when I don't do what he wants." "Let him. You're not there to defend yourself and you don't need to." "I know. It just feels weird. Like I should be there." "You should be wherever you want to be. Where is that?" There was a pause. "Honestly, I want to pick Mia up from school with you. I want to do something normal and domestic and completely unrelated to board meetings or corporate politics." Daniel smiled. "School lets out at 3:30. I usually pick her up around 4. Can I come?" "Yeah, meet you there." He left work early, checking with his supervisor, who just nodded knowingly. The story had spread that far. When Daniel pulled up to Mia's school, Isabella was already there, leaning against her car in jeans and a sweater. She looked younger without the corporate armor, more like the woman he'd first met in that restaurant parking lot. "Hey," he said, walking over. "Hey, thanks for letting me do this." You don't need permission. You're part of this now. Mia came running out of the school building, saw Isabella, and her face lit up. She ran straight to her, launching into a story about a science experiment involving vinegar and baking soda before she'd even said hello. And it exploded everywhere, like everywhere. And Mrs. Peterson got it on her shirt and she pretended to be mad, but I could tell she thought it was funny. She stopped, looking between them. Why are you both here? Isabella wanted to pick you up with me today, Daniel said. Cool. Can we get ice cream? It's 40 degrees outside, Daniel protested. Ice cream doesn't have a temperature requirement, Mia said, repeating her earlier argument. Isabella agrees with me, right? Absolutely, Isabella said, grinning. They went to the same ice cream place as before. Mia got her chocolate with gummy bears, Isabella got vanilla again, and Daniel got coffee because apparently he was predictable. So you quit your job? Mia asked Isabella between bites. I did. Because of my dad? Isabella glanced at Daniel, who nodded slightly. Partly because of your dad, but mostly because I wasn't happy and I needed to make a change. What are you going to do now? Honestly, I have no idea. That's kind of scary, but also kind of exciting. My dad was scared when he quit his job at the repair shop to work where he works now. He threw up before his first day. Mia, Daniel said. What? You did. I heard you. Isabella laughed. That makes me feel better, actually, knowing even your dad gets scared. Everyone gets scared, Mia said matter-of-factly. The important thing is doing it anyway. That's what bravery is. Isabella looked at Daniel. She really is the wisest person you know, isn't she? Told you. They spent the rest of the afternoon together, the three of them. It felt easy in a way that surprised Daniel. No awkwardness, no forcing conversations, just the natural rhythm of people who fit together. When it started getting dark, they drove back to Daniel's apartment. Isabella hesitated at the car. I should probably go home. Let you guys have your evening routine. Or you could stay for dinner, Mia said. We're having tacos. Dad makes really good tacos. I make acceptable tacos, Daniel corrected. He's being modest. They're really good. Isabella looked at Daniel, questioning. He shrugged. You're always welcome, you know that. So she stayed. She helped Daniel cook while Mia did homework at the kitchen table, asking questions about fractions that somehow led to a debate about whether pizza could be considered a vegetable if it had tomato sauce on it. That's not how nutrition works, Daniel said. But tomatoes are vegetables, Mia argued. Tomatoes are technically fruit, Isabella added. See, even Isabella agrees pizza is confusing. They ate at the small table, knees bumping, conversation flowing naturally from school drama to cooking disasters to childhood memories. Isabella told them about the time she'd tried to bake cookies as a kid and somehow set the kitchen curtains on fire. Mia told them about the time she'd tried to give herself a haircut and ended up with one side 3 inches shorter than the other. I had to wear a hat for a month, she said dramatically. I remember, Daniel said. You wore it to bed. I was committed to the look. After dinner, Mia asked Isabella to help her with a school project about family trees. They sat on the living room floor with poster board and markers while Daniel cleaned up the kitchen. He could hear them talking, Mia explaining who was who in her family tree, mostly just her and Daniel, with a few branches for grandparents and aunts and uncles she rarely saw. What about your mom? Isabella asked gently. She's not in the picture, Mia said, repeating the phrase she'd heard her whole life. But that's okay. We don't need her. We have each other. You're lucky to have your dad. I know. He's the best. Pause. Do you want to be on my family tree? Daniel froze in the kitchen, his hand still in the soapy water. I'd be honored, Isabella said, her voice thick. Where should I go? Here, next to my dad, because you're important to both of us. When Daniel finally finished the dishes and came into the living room, he saw Isabella's name on the poster board in Mia's careful handwriting, connected to his with a line. Isabella looked up at him, her eyes bright with tears she wasn't quite hiding. Later, after Mia was in bed, they sat on the couch in the quiet apartment. Today was perfect, Isabella said. All of it. The ice cream, dinner, the family tree. This is what I wanted when I quit, this feeling. What feeling? Like I'm part of something real. Like I matter, not because of what I can do for people, but just because I'm here. You do matter. To us. She leaned her head on his shoulder.
I got offered a job today. 3, actually. Board members reaching out, probably trying to poach me before anyone else does. You interested? No, I don't want to jump into another corporate position. I want to take some time, figure out what I actually want to build. That sounds smart.
It sounds terrifying. I've never not had a plan before. Welcome to improvising. It's most of what I do.
She laughed. How do you make it look so easy? Trust me, it's not easy. I'm constantly worried I'm making the wrong choice. But you do the best you can with what you have, and you adjust when things don't work out. And if I fail, if I start something new and it crashes and burns,
then you'll have failed at something you chose instead of succeeding at something someone else chose for you. That's still better. She was quiet for a moment. My mother called earlier, before I came to pick up Mia.
What did she say?
That I was making a mistake, that I was throwing away my future for a man I barely know, that in 6 months I'd regret everything.
Do you think she's right?
No, for the first time in my life, I'm absolutely sure she's wrong.
She turned to look at him. I know this is fast. We've only been together a few months, but I can't imagine going back to who I was before I met you. Me neither. And not just because you've complicated my life in the best possible way. How diplomatic. I try.
She kissed him, slow and gentle, and when she pulled back, she said, I want this.
All of it. The normal dinners, the ice cream trips being on Mia's family tree. I want to build a life with you. Even though it's messy and uncertain and nothing like what you're used to, especially because of that.
Over the next few weeks, things started to settle into a new normal. Isabella didn't rush into another job. Instead, she started consulting with small businesses, helping them with strategy and operations on a freelance basis. The work was less prestigious than running a corporation, but she came home energized instead of exhausted. Daniel got called into HR again, but this time it was to discuss a new position. With Isabella gone, the conflict of interest was resolved, and they wanted to promote him to senior IT manager. Better pay, more responsibility, and a clear acknowledgement that he was good at what he did. Take it, Isabella said when he told her. You've earned it. It feels weird, like I'm benefiting from you leaving. You're benefiting from being good at your job. Don't diminish that. He took the position. Isabella started spending more time at the apartment. She'd show up for dinner several times a week, help Mia with homework, watch movies on the couch with Daniel after Mia went to bed. Slowly, her things started appearing, a toothbrush in the bathroom, a drawer of clothes in Daniel's bedroom, her favorite coffee in the kitchen. Mia noticed, of course. Is Isabella moving in? We haven't talked about it officially, Daniel said. Would you be okay if she did? Duh. She's basically already here all the time anyway. Might as well make it official. It's a big change. Dad, everything's been changing, and it's all been good changes. Stop worrying so much. 3 months after Isabella's resignation, Daniel's phone rang at work. An unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Is this Daniel Brooks? A woman's voice, formal and professional. Yes, this is Catherine Simmons from the Laurent Corporation Board of Directors. I'm calling to request a meeting with you and Isabella, if you're both available. Daniel's stomach dropped. What's this about? I'd prefer to discuss it in person. Would this Thursday at 2 work? I'll have to check with Isabella. Please do. And Mr. Brooks, this isn't a hostile meeting, I promise. He called Isabella immediately after hanging up. The board wants to meet with us. When? Thursday at 2. Someone named Catherine Simmons called. Catherine's the CFO. She's always been fair, one of the few people on the board who didn't automatically side with my father. Pause. Do you think it's about us? Probably, but she said it wasn't hostile. Should we go? That's up to you. Isabella was quiet for a moment. Let's go. I'm curious what they want. Thursday afternoon, they walked into the Laurent Corporation building together. Daniel hadn't been to the executive floors before. Everything was glass and chrome and expensive-looking furniture. Catherine Simmons met them in a conference room. She was in her 50s with gray hair pulled back in a neat bun and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Thank you both for coming, she said, shaking their hands. Please sit. They sat. Daniel's heart was pounding. I'll get straight to the point, Catherine said. Your father's leadership has become problematic, Isabella. Since your resignation, we've had 3 major clients pull their contracts, citing concerns about company stability. Employee morale is down,
and there have been several complaints about hostile work environment issues that we can no longer ignore. Isabella's eyes widened. What are you saying? I'm saying the board voted to remove your father as CEO. We're offering you the position again, if you want it. Silence filled the room. Daniel looked at Isabella, trying to read her expression. Why? Isabella asked finally. Why would you want me back after I quit? Because you were right. About the direction of the company, about prioritizing people over profit margins, about modernizing our approach. Your father was stuck in the past, and it was hurting us. We need someone who can move the company forward. And you think that's me? We know it is. The question is whether you want it. Isabella looked at Daniel. He could see the conflict in her face, the pull of the work she'd loved, the opportunity to build something on her own terms, but also the fear of going back to what had made her miserable. Can I think about it? She asked. Of course. Take a week. But Isabella, this time would be different. You'd have full authority. Your father would no longer have any say in company operations. It would truly be your company. What about Daniel? Isabella asked. The conflict of interest issues. We're willing to make accommodations, transfer him to a different department, adjust reporting structures. If this is important to you, we'll make it work. They left the building in a daze. In the parking lot, Isabella turned to him. I don't know what to do. What do you want to do? Part of me wants to say yes, to take back what my father took from me and prove I can do it better. But another part of me remembers how miserable I was, how much I gave up for that job. Then don't decide right now. Take the week. Think about what you actually want, not what you think you should want. She nodded. What if I say yes? Would you be okay with that? If it's what you really want, yeah. But things would change. I'd be working more hours, have more stress. Isabella, we'll figure it out. We always do. She spent the next week wrestling with the decision. Daniel watched her make lists, talk through scenarios, stress about the choice. On Wednesday night, she showed up at the apartment with takeout and a determined expression. I made a decision, she said. Okay. I'm going to say yes, but with conditions. What conditions? Reasonable hours, no more 80-hour weeks, actual work-life balance. And I want to bring in new blood on the board, people who aren't just my father's friends. That sounds good. You're sure? Because once I do this, things will be different again. Things are always different. That's how life works. She kissed him. Have I mentioned lately that I love you? Not in the last 3 hours. I love you. And thank you for supporting whatever choice I made. That's what partners do. She called Catherine the next morning and accepted the position. The news broke that afternoon. Isabella Laurent returning as CEO, her father stepping down. The business press went crazy with speculation, but in Daniel's apartment that night, with Mia doing homework at the table and Isabella helping her with vocabulary words, it just felt like life continuing. 6 months later, on a Saturday afternoon, Daniel took Mia to the park. Not for any particular reason, just because it was nice out and she wanted to swing. Dad, she said, pumping her legs to go higher. Can I ask you something? Sure. Are you going to marry Isabella? He nearly dropped his coffee. What? Marry her. You know, wedding, rings, all that stuff. Sophie's mom just got married to Mr. Peterson, and it was really nice. We haven't talked about that. Why not? It's complicated. Everything's complicated with you. She jumped off the swing, landing with practiced ease. But you love her, right? Yes. And she loves you? Yes. And she's basically already part of our family? Yes. Then it's not that complicated. You should ask her. Daniel sat there on the bench, watching his daughter climb the jungle gym, and realized she was right. It wasn't complicated. He'd spent so long overthinking everything, planning for every possible outcome, trying to control an uncontrollable future. But the truth was simple. He loved Isabella. She loved him. They'd built something real together, something worth keeping. That night, after Mia was asleep, Daniel asked Isabella to come outside with him. They stood on the small balcony of his apartment, looking out at the city lights. I need to tell you something, he said. Okay, you're making me nervous. Don't be nervous. It's good, I think. He took a breath. Mia asked me today if I was going to marry you. Isabella's eyes widened. What did you say?
I said we hadn't talked about it, but the thing is I've been thinking about it. A lot.
Daniel, let me finish. I know this is fast. I know we've only been together for less than a year. But I also know that I want to spend my life with you. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to raise Mia together. I want all the boring, normal, everyday moments that make up a life. Are you asking me to marry you? Not yet. I'm asking if you'd want me to, if that's something you'd even be interested in. She laughed, tears streaming down her face. You're asking permission to propose? I guess I am. That's the most you thing I've ever heard. Is that a yes? She grabbed his face and kissed him. Yes, you idiot. Yes, I'd want you to ask me. Yes, I'd say yes. Yeah? Are you seriously surprised? Daniel, I walked away from a billion-dollar company for you. I think marriage is a reasonable next step. He pulled her close, holding her tight. I don't have a ring yet. I was going to wait until I could afford something nice. I don't need something nice. I just need you. I'm going to get you something nice anyway. Stubborn. You love it. I really do. 2 months later, on a Sunday morning in the same park where they'd had their first real conversation, Daniel got down on one knee. Mia was there, holding a sign she'd made that said, "Please say yes," with drawings of dinosaurs around the border. Isabella cried and said yes before he'd even finished asking. They got married 6 months after that in a small ceremony with just close friends and family. Mia was the flower girl, wearing a dress she'd picked out herself and shoes she complained about for weeks leading up to the wedding. These are torture devices, she'd said during the rehearsal. They're dress shoes, Daniel had replied. Same thing. But on the actual day, she wore them without complaint, walking down the aisle throwing petals with complete seriousness. Isabella's mother came to the wedding. Her father didn't. That hurt, Daniel knew. But Isabella held her head high and focused on what she had, instead of what she'd lost. During the reception, in the backyard of a small restaurant they'd rented out, Mia pulled Daniel aside. You did good, Dad. Yeah? Yeah. Isabella's perfect for us, and you look really happy. I am happy, Bug. Good. You deserve it. You've been taking care of me forever. It's nice that someone's taking care of you, too. His throat felt tight. I love you. You know that? I know. I love you, too. Even when you're being boring and dad-like. Especially when I'm being boring and dad-like. Exactly. Later that night, after the guests had left and Mia was asleep at Mrs. Chen's house, Daniel and Isabella sat outside under string lights, exhausted and happy. We did it, Isabella said. We did. My father missed it. I know. I'm sorry. I'm not. Not anymore. He made his choice, and I made mine, but she leaned against him. And I'd make it again, every single time. Even knowing how hard it would be? Especially knowing how hard it would be, because you were worth it. This was worth it. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Can I tell you something? Daniel said eventually. Always. The night you first texted me, when you asked me to rescue you from that date, I almost didn't go. Really? Really? I sat in my car for 5 minutes, convincing myself it was a bad idea, that getting involved would complicate everything, that I should just ignore it and stay safe. What changed your mind? I don't know. Something about your message felt honest, like you were really asking for help, not playing a game, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? She laughed. And look where that got you. Married to a former billionaire CEO with a complicated family and a tendency to overthink everything. Best worst decision I ever made. Same. She kissed him softly. Thank you, by the way. For what? For showing up that night. For every night after. For choosing me even when it would have been easier not to. You chose me too. That first text. That was you choosing me. Best choice I ever made. They stayed outside until the early hours of the morning, talking about everything and nothing, making plans for a future that was uncertain, but theirs. Because that was the thing Daniel had learned over the past year. You couldn't plan for everything. You couldn't control every outcome or protect yourself from every risk. Sometimes you just had to show up, take the chance, and trust that it would work out. And sometimes, if you were really lucky, it did. Mia asked about siblings exactly once, 3 months after the wedding. Are you guys going to have a baby? Daniel and Isabella looked at each other. Do you want a sibling? Isabella asked carefully. Mia considered this. Maybe eventually, but not right now. Right now I like being the only kid. I get all the attention. Fair enough, Daniel said, but in a few years, maybe. Someone to boss around would be nice. We'll keep that in mind, Isabella said, smiling. A year after the wedding, Isabella made a major donation to the local school district, funding art and music programs that had been cut due to budget constraints. She didn't make a big deal about it, didn't want press coverage or recognition. She just wanted kids like Mia to have opportunities. You're changing things, Daniel told her. I'm trying. It's different than running a company, but it feels more real somehow. Because you're choosing it. Exactly.
She'd found her balance, running the company on her terms, with boundaries and priorities that made sense to her. She still worked hard, but she came home for dinner most nights. She made Mia's school events, she took weekends off, and she was happy. Really, genuinely happy. On their second anniversary, they went back to the diner where it had all started. The same booth, the same bad coffee, but everything else different. Remember that first night, Isabella said, when you showed up to rescue me and we ended up talking for hours? I remember thinking you were going to realize how boring my life was and never text me again. I remember thinking you were the first real thing I'd encountered in years. And now? Now you're the realest thing in my life. You and Mia and this weird, wonderful existence we've built together. Daniel looked at his wife, because she was his wife now. Not just the billionaire CEO who texted him at 9:47 on a Tuesday night. She was the woman who helped Mia with homework and burned toast on Saturday mornings and fell asleep during movies and made him laugh when he was stressed. She was home. I love you, he said. I love you too. Thank you for answering that first text. Thank you for sending it. They clinked their coffee mugs together, and somewhere in the city, in a small apartment that had become a home, Mia was probably staying up past her bedtime reading about dinosaurs or drawing elaborate family trees that now included both of them. And Daniel realized that his life, this life, with its complications and uncertainties and unexpected turns, was exactly what he'd been afraid to hope for all those years ago. He'd spent so long playing it safe, building walls, protecting himself and Mia from anything that might disrupt their carefully controlled existence. But the truth was, the best things in life happened when you stopped hiding and started showing up, when you answered the text, when you took the chance, when you chose love over fear, connection over safety, possibility over certainty. It wasn't always easy. Some days were still hard. Isabella's father still refused to speak to her. Money was tighter than it had been when she was CEO. Their schedules didn't always align the way they wanted. But they had each other. They had Mia. They had a life they'd built together from nothing but hope and stubbornness and a willingness to believe that sometimes the risk was worth it. And sitting in that diner, holding his wife's hand across the table, Daniel knew that every choice he'd made, every fear he'd pushed through, every wall he'd torn down, every moment he'd chosen to show up instead of running away, had led him exactly where he needed to be. Home.